So a few weekends ago, I decided to travel up to Newcastle to do some shopping. I popped into Forbidden Planet and noticed that they had Volume 4 of Beast Complex as well as a few Beastars mangas. I enjoyed watching Beastars on Netflix and I was intrigued to read Beast Complex, so I decided to buy it. I then went into another shop called The Travelling Man and they had volumes 1, 2 and 3 as well as 4. In my head, I was like, I can't read volume 4 now before I read volume 1, 2 and 3, so I decided to buy the lot. Luckily, they had a free for the price of 2 offer on, so I ended up getting 4 books for 30 quid. I've since read them all and I want to do a video explaining what Beast Complex is and why I like it. Beast Complex is a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Paru Itagaki. Each book contains multiple short stories set in the Beastars world, and the first 4 stories in volume 1 were actually made before Beastars. In fact, Legoshi made his first ever appearance in The Lion and the Bat, where he's seen sitting on the train holding his rucksack. It was originally published in the Japanese manga magazine Weekly Shonen Champion back in 2016, before it was later published into a book by Akita Shoten. It was later published in English by Viz Media in 2021. Of course, the English releases have since been a year or 2 behind the Japanese ones. As of recording, there is currently 4 volumes of Beast Complex, and volume 3 is the biggest book, with that book containing 7 stories instead of the usual 6. Although I genuinely struggle to pick my favourite anything, I thought I'd pick out a few stories that I liked. If you don't want any spoilers, then it's probably best that you give this part of the video a miss. In the first book, I enjoyed the tiger and the beaver because I thought it was genuinely wholesome. The story is centered around 2 childhood friends, a beaver called Morgu and a Siberian tiger called Gon. Despite the 2 being great friends since they were young, they can now only officially meet at recess. This is because an all-species boarding school puts carnivores and herbivores in separate classes after they turn 10 years old. It's one of the harsh realities of life that they have to navigate. One evening, they meet up and sneak out together, and whilst they're out, they see some carnivore students threatening to nibble a herbivore if he doesn't give them money. Gon runs back to his room to grab his dad's camera so he can take some photos of what's going on to show the principal. But he accidentally uses the camera's flash, which alerts the bullies that they're there. The bullies then turn their attention to Gon and Morgu. The 2 friends then hop on a bike and get chased by the bullies. After a little while, the bullies catch up and grab Gon. Once they've got a hold of him, they try to convince him to show his true nature and join the carnivores. But Gon stands his ground and refuses to join forces with them. He then expresses his desire to become the strongest tiger he can be to protect Morgu. It's clear that Gon wants to use his strength to be a force for good instead of using it as a way to intimidate people to try and get what he wants. He then catches up with Morgu and they show the principal the photos. The bullies then get expelled for a month, and Morgu reassures Gon that they'll never grow apart despite the differences. Look, I genuinely thought that story was wholesome. Another story I liked for entirely different reasons was The Iguana and the Penguin from volume 4. South the iguana struggles from alcoholism, and that has led to a lot of problems in his life. For example, his girlfriend left him and he got fired from his job. One day, he visits his local store to buy some more beers. But once he arrives at the fridge that usually stocks his favourite beer, he is instead greeted by a lost baby king penguin. When South informs the shopkeeper about this, he tells him that in order for the shop to stock up on the beer again, someone will have to move the penguin. So he ends up taking the penguin home and names him Cole. Of course, penguins love cold places, so Cole ends up living in South's fridge where he'd usually store his beers. But Cole's presence in the fridge interrupts South's urge to have a beer whenever he has a panic attack about his failures. You can see that caring for Cole has given him a purpose. When Cole starts molting, South mistakenly thinks he's unwell and immediately hops on his bike to take him to the hospital. South then reflects on his life and wishes he could have done better. Then suddenly, Cole leaps from South's bike into the ocean. It was really majestic as well. South then uses the one line of marine language that he memorised to tell the dolphins to take Cole to the South Pole. Despite Cole now being gone, South would now fill his fridge with letters engraved in ice that Cole would send him from the South Pole, instead of filling it with alcohol. So in the end, Cole helps South cut down on his alcohol intake, which will massively improve his life. It was nice to see Paru taking on a darker topic because we all know she's not afraid to do that. Look, I'm not afraid to admit that I cried whilst watching the Beastars episode about Legoshi's mother. It was dark. Speaking of Beastars, there is also multiple stories featuring Legoshi and Haru. Volume 2 contains a story where Haru asks Legoshi to participate in a ritual after a coming of age ceremony. This purification ritual is where a scarred herbivore and the carnivore who harmed them come together to drive malicious spirits out of the scar. In other words, the carnivore basically soaks the scar and cleans it. Legoshi scratched Haru's arm when they first met, so they had a reason to go, and Legoshi even surprised Haru by kissing her arm. We also got another story in Volume 4, but this time Haru goes to Juno for some advice on how to reawaken Legoshi's wolf instincts. She takes her advice and tries multiple things such as wearing something that sways and walking ahead of him, but nothing really works. But one night Haru finds Legoshi moonbathing and agrees to go on a late night stroll with him. The two walk past Cherrington Academy, which is where they went to school during Beastars, and Legoshi prays for his deceased drama club friend who was devoured. Haru is then reminded of those tough school days as well, and expresses her acceptance of Legoshi's fangs and claws. After that, the two went home, and Legoshi asked Haru if her ears had healed. For context, he accidentally play-bit Haru's ear during the first ever sleepover, and has avoided intimacy ever since. Haru reminds Legoshi that that happened ages ago, and she finally got the intimacy that she was craving. The end. Personally, I enjoyed reading Beast Complex, and I enjoyed how simple it was to get into them. For example, there was a lot of short stories in there, so there was a lot of different things you could read, and it was very digestible. I definitely recommend the books to any Beastars fan. I've also started reading the Beastars mangas. I ended up finding Volume 1 in HMV in Sunderland, so hopefully I can find more. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like. If you didn't enjoy it, feel free to leave a dislike. I always want your honest opinions. And feel free to subscribe, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.